As early as 1908, the city of Merced, California, adopted Gateway to Yosemite as its tourism slogan at a time when a trip from the coast to the Sierra Nevada took days instead of hours. The phrase is still prominent on official signage around town. Dusty neon signs announce once quaint mid-century motor inns named for Yosemite as well, even though demand from tourists stopping off on their way to the park is long gone. When the University of California, Merced opened in 2005, a similar naming strategy was adopted, reminding students and faculty of iconic Yosemite locations as they visited the Half Dome Dormitory or Wawona Conference Room. To walk around downtown Merced or the university campus is to be constantly reminded that you are, or you should be, on your way to somewhere else. The spaces of Merced do not always remind us to take stock of where we are and who we are when we stay in a place. And when we do pay attention to where we are, it is all too often through the far less optimistic stories told through employment, income, poverty, crime statistics, real estate databases, and reports on educational attainment. Of course, people are not statistics, but there is also the narrative of some youth who want nothing more than to escape the place they call Mer-Dead, the place where they feel there is simply nothing to do, like so many other dead-end places in California's San Joaquin Valley. And then there is the geographical divide. All too often, people with different backgrounds and different stories are separated and hidden from one another by the ideological fault line brought into being by Highway 99. The separation created by this highway is both literal and metaphorical. It brings into view a separate and unequal South and North Merced, along with the narratives of have-nots and have-mores. These narratives do not encourage curiosity or empathy, nor do they give much insight into the history of our town or its residents, their stories, and their histories. This is something that the Gateway to Merced project seeks to change. What happens when we imagine Merced as a destination, not a pit stop? How can we use our histories and experience to understand ourselves, to create a platform for more substantive and empathetic communication, and to create art that reflects our values, our community? Our community is not only migrant farm workers, tourists, business owners, and service sector employees of a Yosemite-focused tourism industry, nor is it simply high school and university students passing through Merced on their way to careers elsewhere. Our community consists of groups with very different experiences of being a Mercedian. Migrant farm workers, refugees, business people, and students whose families came from Mexico, India, Laos, Portugal, Japan, Italy, China, and other parts of the United States. Many of their children and grandchildren are now second and third generation permanent residents of Merced who make up the sedimented layers of the town and the primary source of its value. Our varied experiences of sharing and continually returning to this place are thus not easily woven into a neat master narrative. Gateway to Merced is not a catchy slogan, but a provocation to change the narrative. We desire to acknowledge the values of our community and represent these values as the best part of who we are as a town. Gateway to Merced is a collaborative research project between UC Merced and residents of Merced County. We are meeting with individuals and families who live in and around Merced to gather their oral histories, their autobiographies, and their experiences of life in and around Merced. We seek to develop a better understanding of what drew people to this area and their contributions in making Merced what it is today. We are particularly interested in hearing the stories of people whose journeys or whose families' journeys started outside of Merced, but who have made Merced their home permanently or temporarily. We are also interested in sharing these stories across generations as a way of creating a shared sense of who we are and who we can be. If you choose to participate in this project, this is what you can expect. We will schedule your interview by a trained oral historian. This interview will take place in person in a place of your choosing or online and will take about 60 to 90 minutes. You schedule your interview as an individual or with a small group. We recognize that Merced residents have many different backgrounds, so our interviews will take place in English, Spanish, Hmong, and Punjabi, or some mixture of these languages. We will ask questions about you and your family's history, including where you and members of your family grew up, when you came to Merced, what life was like for you when you arrived, what are significant places in the area for you, the things that you did for work and entertainment, and what kind of food did your family eat, what kind of music did they play or listen to, and so forth. We do not expect that there will be any risk to you by participating in this study. If we ask you a question that is uncomfortable or that you do not want to answer, you are welcome to tell us that, and your interviewer will move on to a different question. Our project is to make you feel comfortable sharing your experiences as you live them, but we understand that some memories can be painful and that you might not want to share them. That's perfectly okay. As with all research, there is a small chance that confidentiality might be compromised. However, we are taking precautions to minimize this risk and will take every effort to protect you. Your participation in an oral history interview is completely voluntary, and you can choose to end your participation at any time. You might also change your mind about being interviewed and decide to quit even after it is started. If you should decide after your interview has concluded that you have changed your mind and you do not want to participate, our researchers will remove and erase any information that was collected. Because we are sharing your experiences with people in future generations, we would like to make a recording of your interview. If you are willing to let us record, however, you can choose what form we use to record audio and/or video and how we might use or reproduce that recording. We'll talk a bit more about this in a moment. You can choose to stop, restart the recording at any time if you do not want an experience to be a part of public record. If you choose, we can record your interview but remove all personally identifying information to protect confidentiality. We will also give you a copy of the recording that we make for your own reference or to share with your family and friends. If you decide at a later time that you do not want a portion of the recording or any part of the recording to be included in our archive, we will delete and remove the section or the recording as you specify. This recording is not absolutely necessary. If you feel uncomfortable with the idea of being recorded, your oral historian can instead take notes of your conversation and share their notes with you. The stories that we collect will be added to the Gateway to Merced archive, which will be hosted by the UC Merced Library. We hope that these interviews will be a record for future Merced residents and researchers who desire a better understanding of the experiences of Merced's people in the past and the present. We hope to represent people's stories and local histories that are published in print stories, in media productions like documentary films and podcasts, and in artistic forms like murals, songs, and theatrical renditions. We also hope to foster intellectual dialogue by translating portions of people's stories to other languages frequently spoken in Merced, so that people who may not otherwise have a way of communicating with each other can hear each other's experiences. If we would like to use a portion of your interview, we will seek your permission in advance and share with you how we would like to use it. You will have every opportunity to approve or deny our use of your story or your recording. If you have any questions about the process, the archive, or anything else related to your participation in our project, or if you would like to be trained as a citizen historian to interview your friends and family, Please do not hesitate to contact Dr. Jason Beester Jones via email jbeesterjones@ucmerced.edu or via phone at 209-228-2521. If you have any questions about your rights while taking part in this study, please call the Office of Research at 209-228-4613 or write to the Office of Research at 5200 North Lake Road, UC Merced, Merced, California, 95343. The Office of Research will inform the Institutional Review Board, which is a group of people who review the research to protect your rights. If you have any complaints or concerns about this study, you may address them to Ramesh Balasubramaniam, Chair of the IRB at 209-228-2314, irbchair@ucmerced.edu. Thank you again for considering participation in this oral history project. We hope that your story will be an important step in understanding Merced's history and making it a better place to live.